We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Ring the notification bell. Share the video if you want to support this national independent college football's rebel outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $sign where you make a comment and I will get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody, even including the evil Badgers. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. We've got a banger of a show on this Friday night, April 17th. I've been a very busy man, not been able to get on live today until right now. It has been a little crazy. We're going to be talking a lot of stuff tonight, so buckle up and brace for impact. We are going to be going over Tom Fornelli's article, CBS Sports, Tom Fornelli's big, bold predictions for the 2026 season within the Big Ten. And I got to say, I got a feeling that Tom Fornelli hit it out of the park with these predictions, because I agree with pretty much all of them. So either Tom Fornelli has become Greg the Cooler, or Tom Fornelli and yours truly are going to be Greg the Gold and Tom the Wise One in 2026. We're also going to be we're going to continue our Spotlight series like we do every live show going on towards the August camp. Tonight is going to be the Baylor Bears. The Baylor Bears are going to be under the spotlight. First was Miami, then USC, then Boston College, then Kentucky, and tonight is Baylor. Dave Aranda sitting on the hot seat? I think so. There is some room for potential optimism. But again, I got to be honest, I'm not a DJ Lagway fan. He can prove me wrong. But I'm not quite the believer. I do like that Pendergrass has come back. I do like that. All right. And then we are going to talk about the Florida State money perch. And I got to tell you something. Let me take a step back, because a lot of people are seeing this show for the very first time. Don't know who the heck I am. That's fine. I'm a nobody. But the Florida State money perch, we were able to interact with, how do I say this? The first bit of information that we received from the Florida State money perch, we were able to talk about on December 26, 2022. And we came on live and we talked about how the Florida State money perch, talking with BTM and his associates, told us that within 2 months that the Florida State athletic department, the university, was going to come out and say something has got to change in the ACC. Something has got to change in regards to revenues and how it's distributed. Well, that was December 26, 2022. On February 24th, 2023, Michael Alford came out and basically said everything that the money perch told us. Excuse me. And then a little bit later in the 2023 calendar year, the Florida State money perch told us that in the first quarter of 2024, Florida State was going to put their stake in the ground and they were going to take the ACC to court. They were going to do whatever they needed to do. Well, the Florida State money perch was incorrect on that, because it happened around December 19th, somewhere around there. I believe the Florida State money perch was like 11 days off. We'll give him a break. We'll give him a pass on that. And then later, after the court cases were solved and everything, the Florida State money perch told us, well, it ended up being the honest truth. The Florida State money perch told us that Florida State, we're not the number one targets for the SEC and the Big Ten. We know that. Nothing's going to be happening right after the court cases are done. That's not happening. The Florida State money perch became very pessimistic on where Florida State was. And again, every time I come out with one of these Florida State money perch updates, I get dragged over the coals, which is fine. I got dragged over the coals each and every time we have given you an update. But each and every time the Florida State money perch has been dead on nails. Just like your Arizona State money perch, just like the USC, how that leaked out of USC, and a whole lot of other stories that we've been able to contribute and break in the college football world. So this person is not an optimistic person by nature. This person has not been going out there saying, well, Florida State's they've already got to deal with the Big Ten. They've already got to deal with the SEC. They've already got a handshake deal. There's already a wink and a nod, and no. That was said by other fools out there. The Florida State money perch has been saying, oh man, it don't look good right now. We might have to, we've contacted the Big 12. We've contacted everybody. This is a sea change in the Florida State money perch. There is optimism in his writings. There is optimism. Things have changed at Tallahassee. Now, just like in everything else that we've talked about here, we don't believe anything is imminent. If it is, we have peek around the corner is wrong. And when it becomes imminent, we're going to give you that peek around the corner. So no, we don't think anything is imminent at this time. But there's a lot of positioning going on. There's a lot of NDAs that are flying around. There's a lot of information that is embargoed. But the Florida State money perch was able to give us some information. Some of it is what we were already told by the chatter behind the curtain and others. But it is very interesting. Florida State believes they're in a much better position, a much better standing with both the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten right now than they were 18 months ago. And before people start throwing their elbows, shooting their arrows at me, I'm going to remind you of something. The message coming out of the Florida State money perch was the complete opposite. It has been the complete opposite. It really has been. In fact, a lot of people have dragged me over the coals because the information from the Florida State money perch has been too negative. I can't control that. I'm giving you the information. But it happened to be absolutely correct. Now, is the Florida State money perch absolutely correct tonight, saying that the Florida State Seminoles are in a lot better position? I happen to think he is correct because of other information that I have received. He also said that Miami is Florida State's best ally. We have told you all that for the last year because the chatter behind the curtain believes that to be true. Miami is Florida State's best ally, not North Carolina, not Clemson even, not Duke, definitely not Notre Dame. It's Miami. As much as the Seminoles and the Hurricanes fans go at it with each other, as we have described before, the universities do not go after each other. And Florida State believes that Miami is their best ally. We are going to get into details about that. So, an update, a different kind of update, a completely different kind of update from the Florida State money perch. One that we are not used to here. But again, nothing is done. Nothing is settled. I don't think anything is imminent. And things change. They always change. And Florida State has done a lot of things in the background. A lot. You all know what they've done. And some of the pieces, some of the domino pieces seem to be possibly falling correctly for Florida State. I don't want to give anybody false hope. I know I'm going to be called Greg the Grifter tonight. Greg the Grifter. But again, I spent the last couple of years telling Florida State Seminole fans, you're not getting an invite anytime soon. It's not happening. I've been the bearer of bad news. Am I grifting when I give bad news? No. We are being accurate as possible. And tonight, I think we're just as accurate. Things change. Things change all the time. Things are changing. And the Hurricane Seminole situation, that might be the key to everything. And I think the Seminoles, I believe, as I would not be putting this out here, I believe the Florida State Money Perch, we know the Florida State Money Perch knows, interacts, communicates with very important people in the state of Florida. I'm not going to go any further than that. This whole dynamic between the Seminoles and the Hurricanes could be the key that unlocks the doors needed. Oh, and we've got more. We've got the I Do Declare. The I Do Declare update, which a lot of you haven't. We did it the first time last night, live show. We're going to do it on every live show. I'm going to get to that in a moment. A lot of people are saying, what the heck are you talking about, Greg? I do declare. Howard Cosell, I do declare. Well, the I do declare is your opportunity, PATC Einsteins, your opportunity to give us your college football peek around the corner for the 2026 season. You declare, you make a prediction, we write it down, I give you evaluation points from 1 to 5, 1 being it's a kind of a chalk, 5 being the most extreme out there. And again, it has to be some level of boldness to the prediction. It can't be, I think, I do declare that the Buckeyes are going to beat the Gophers this year. I'm not putting that up there. But if you say I do declare that the Fighting Illini of Illinois is going to the college football playoffs, I am going to put it up there. I've already put it up there from Fighting Illini Ted, and I gave it a certain valuation point. If you get the prediction right, you get those points. If you get the prediction wrong, we take those points away from you. And there is going to be a declared, I do declare, world champion in college football at the end of the championship football game in January. So, and it has to come in a super chat. And all the money that comes in the super chats that are attached to an I do declare prediction is going to go to the Special Olympics of Minnesota. $34.99 has already been raised. We're going to book that into an account. We're going to get that separate, and we're going to ship it out to Special Olympics of Minnesota. I will give you all the information when we do that, so forth and so on. We also going to be delivering from societyawards.com a custom-made trophy to the PATC Einstein that wins the I Do Declare world champion. So we're going to ship that out to you. We're going to have your name on a plate, whatever, at my cost. All right? All right. So let's get to it. Let me do a roll call real quick here. We got some super chats. Bruce Harris, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for the $2 hotter, helping us keep the lights on. Thank you, sir. I mean, we got a lot to talk about. The UFO files are going to be released. The UFO files are going to be starting to be released. Are we going to get disclosure? Is it going to be disappointing? I'm going to give you my opinion on that a little bit later. Carson, we are live. We are freaking live. Thank you for the $2 holler. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much, Carson. Oh, talking about world champions. Ryan Brooks, LSU Tiger, is the college football PATC Trivia World Champion. Holy smokes, he's in the house. Thanks for coming on in, Ryan Brooks. Florida Man is here. DT's is here. Daniel Gorby is here. Studzilla is in the house. Tazbo, Big Ten fan. Jim Reese, Gabe, and yes. Chef Maul is here. Jay Go Blue. Florida Man, Bobby Bowden International Airport. New name of Tallahassee Airport. Love Sports is here. Let's go Mountaineers. No Berman is here. The architect. Big Ten fan 81. Who else is in the house? Who else made it in? Base Jurin is here. 555 Rock. Greg the Cold. It's all going to change. Greg the Gold in 2026. Christopher Mercado is in the house. Thanks for coming on in, Christopher. I appreciate it. Tumasta is here. Florida State will land in the SEC. I mean, that's my prediction. That is my prediction. A prediction, not a report. A prediction, not a report. We're not there. We're not there. I don't think we're close to being there. Not yet. Kenneth Maynard is in the house. Appreciate you coming on in. Amy is here. Friday night, PATC. Big Gun Shop. I like to see Greg in pink next. I look great in pink. I look great in every color except for the Wisconsin Badgers colors. That is just the way it is. Jacobra Cat, Super Chat. Holy smokes. What the heck? Jacobra Cat. Jacobra Cat. He's one of the most interesting cats in the PATC family. I do declare that Fleck leaves the Gophers for Florida State right before the Gophers' first playoff game, where they go scoreless against Iowa for a second time the same season. Okay, Jacobra Cat, I'm gonna make a compromise with you here. We're gonna let that come on in, but you don't have to get all that stuff right. How about this, Jacobra Cat? Fleck leaves the Gophers for the Florida State after the season, and I'll give you a valuation of 5 points. Okay, the highest I can give you. Jacobra Cat, thank you for the declaration. We're gonna add that on. After we go through the roll call, we're going to go back in time and show you what is on the board on the I Do Declare contest. Jacobra Cat, I'm going to add that on the board. Thank you for your generosity. Very much appreciate it. Surfer RC's in the house. Jeremy Norick is here. Richard Ramirez is in the house. RT, I do declare that the Pokes will go 1-1 against Texas Tech this season. Oh my God! Oh my God! I guess my next question, RT, is do the Oklahoma State Cowboys, do they win the Big 12 championship game, or do they lose the Big 12 championship? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The I do declare. I understand it. We're going to put it in the books. We're going to put it in the books. I appreciate it, RT, very much. Jose's in the house. Wow. RT. Interesting. RT is in the house. Knows a redheaded stepchild in the SEC. And we've got another super chat. We have another declaration. Holy smokes. Preston from North Carolina. I do declare the Heels will make a bowl game this year. I'm thinking about a 3 on that. Again, we go 1 through 5. Now again, Preston from North Carolina, RT, Jacoba Cat. We went over this last night. I am the judge and jury on what valuation points I give to these declarations. Now you can appeal. You can appeal the valuation point, but again, I'm also the person that sits behind the complaint table. So so good luck with that. Good luck with that. Thank you, Preston from North Carolina. Very interesting. North Carolina makes a bowl game. Aaron Frazier is in the house. Sorry, but the Big Ten TV partners are going to want that Miami versus Florida State rivalry game on a yearly basic. It's national rivalry that isn't the last game of the year. And that is a very, 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 very good comment by Aaron Frazier. And there's a lot more layers to that. But yes. We've got Big Gun Shop. I do declare Iowa State will go at least 6-6 in Coach Jimmy Rogers' first year here. Wow. I'm going to have to give that evaluation of at least 4. I do not expect Iowa State to make a bowl game this year. I do love Jimmy Rogers. I've explained that before. I think he was one hell of a defensive coordinator. Then he became the head coach, one hell of a head coach at South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Interesting. These declarations are already kind of making me a lot of interesting ones here. A lot of interesting ones. Cornelius Jones is in the house. Thank you for coming on in, Cornelius Jones. I appreciate it very much. We've got Jacoba Cat. I do declare no Georgia Bulldog reckless driving arrest. I don't know if I will include that one or not. I don't want to get into the criminal. I don't want to get into that. I'll think about it, Jacoba Cat. Your first one is definitely in the books. That one, not really sure about. But thank you, Jacoba Cat. Thank you so very much. Daniel Gorby, Super Chat. Daniel Gorby, long-time PATC family member. Best case scenario, Florida State gets offers from both the SEC and the Big Ten. Use that leverage. Try to get the full freight paid up. Thank you, Daniel Gorby. Thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciated, sir. Very much appreciated. We'll get into the Florida State situation. According to the Florida State Money Perch, who has never been all that optimistic until now. And why is that? I tell you, Aaron Frazier's comment touches upon a lot of it. Richard Ramirez, Super Chat. Do you think Florida State will go to the SEC even with the bad blood SEC screwing over Florida State for Alabama? Yes. If Florida State gets an invite to the SEC, if they get an invite, if they're in talks, deep in talks, and it's a game of semantics, right? The SEC will tell Florida State, we'll give you the invite if you say yes. We'll do a straw poll to see if you will qualify, see if you get in, and then we'll give you the results of the straw poll, and then you've got to tell us if you're coming on in or not, and if you say yes, then we'll have the official vote, and we'll give you the invitation. But whatever. Florida State will say yes to either one. Big Ten, SEC, no question about it. They're not doing all this. And they've done a lot. They spent a lot of money on the football, the athletic department, the practice facilities, and buying the hospital and juicing up the city of Tallahassee. They've done way too much stuff to be sitting there worried about that the SEC, ESPN, and Alabama screwed the Seminoles, which they did. But they're not going to, no. If you got an opportunity to jump to higher ground, you jump. You absolutely jump. Thank you, Richard Ramirez. Thank you for the $10 holler. Looks like I might have missed. I will get to them, Ryan Brooks. Thank you for the heads up. I will get to them in a moment here. We've got another I Do Declare. Okay. We got to make these I Do Declare. Thank you, Cranky Tiger. We got to make these I Do Declare. You just got to go one hurdle. Like, I do declare that Clemson wins the opener, goes 10-2, wins the ACC, and makes the CFP playoffs. There's like 4 things that you've got to accomplish, Cranky Tiger, to win your declaration. So let's say this. I'll put you down for Clemson wins the opener at LSU, and Clemson goes at least 10-2. All right, and that's going to be a valuation of probably 4, to be honest with you. And you don't have to do those other. Just we can't have them boom boom. Like, it's got to be more condensed. Your declarations have got to be about one thing. All right, Cranky Tiger? Again, we're just getting this started. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right? We're just getting this started. We're all getting kind of used to it. All right? Cranky Tiger, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Kenneth Maynard, I'm going to get to it. Jay Chapman, thanks for coming on in. Elliot Howard. All right, let's get to... Okay, we've got... Jacoba Cat, Super Chat. This one is not going up on the board either. I do declare we find out that we are all hybrid aliens. I'm not going to put that up on the board. Doesn't have anything to do with college football, but I do appreciate the generosity and your creativityness. Jacoba Cat, thank you so very much. We've got Studzilla, Super Chat. Are Brutus and Goldie toasting to orange juice? I'm not sure what that means. Goldie as in Minnesota Golden Gophers and Brutus as in the Buckeyes toasting to orange juice. I don't know what orange juice means. Is that Miami has the oranges and Buffalo's got the juice? Studzilla, you can explain to me later. Again, I apologize. I am the original Minnesota moron. I don't know what that means. But thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate it. Ryan Brooks, I do declare No respect from Ryan Brooks. I saw a later one there. I do declare that Lane Kiffin will win more playoff games than Ole Miss this year. So Ryan Brooks is saying that Lane Kiffin is going to win more playoffs than Ole Miss. LSU. I'm gonna let that in because you got to make the playoffs. Good. It's going to be low evaluation of 1 or 2. But I'm gonna. ECU Pirate, Kenneth Maynard. Okay, we got to limit to 1 declaration per super chat, ladies and gentlemen. 1 declaration. I declare Florida will go 8-4 and play UNC in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Now, I'm going to give that a high valuation because to go 8-4, I'll say at least 8-4. And then to get the exact team right in the exact bowl, that's going to be a valuation of 5 right there and then. All right. I also declare ECU will have the upset of the season, knocking off Alabama week 1. I will allow that one in as well. If you get that one, you get 5 points. You lose 5 points, though, if you don't get it right. High risk, high reward, low risk, low reward. I'm going to let those both in. But again, as we get further into this, try to make sure you have 1 declaration per super chat because it's going to be too difficult for me to tally. Is the audio working? Is the audio working? Are we good? Yes? I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to get another station deck. All right. I apologize, guys. Kenneth Maynard, I'm going to bring both. I'm going to use both of those. That's good. I do declare that Duke sucks. I'm not going to bring that in, obviously. Thank you, Christopher Hooter, for letting me know. I do declare Miami 12-0 defeats SMU 12-0 in the ACC championship game. Okay, we're only going to use that first declaration, Kenneth Maynard. We only can have 1 declaration per super chat. Only 1, okay? It's going to be too difficult for me to tally it up. But thank you, Kenneth Maynard. We're going to use that first one. I do declare Miami and SMU 12-0 in the ACC championship game, and that's going to be a $5 valuation. Absolutely. Yeah, that's not going in the books. That is not going in the books. I still am dropping out. My volume is still dropping out. I'm good? Okay, we're going to go, and I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. You guys let me know. Okay, all right. So, first of all, let me make sure I got Ryan Brooks. We're not going to put that one up on the board. That guy, I do appreciate the super chat. I do appreciate the super chat. Studzilla super chat. I do declare the national championship will be played between two Big Ten teams. We're gonna that's gonna be a 3 or 4. Probably not a 5, but now, this is what we were at after yesterday in I Do Declare. LSU and Ole Miss game viewership, 12 million plus. OPD Don, I gave you that evaluation of 3 points. The Badgers win the Axe. Ryan Willie, valuation of 2 points. Illinois goes to the college football playoffs from Illini Ted. Valuation of 4 points. 4 points. So again, the I Do Declares that have come through today, you're going to see that up on the screen tomorrow. And we're going to keep adding and adding and adding and adding. We add up the total, the money total that's going to go to the Special Olympics of Minnesota. And now, the I Do Declares, I just want to say something here. The I Do Declare statements, I'm not necessarily going to get to them at the time of you put them up on the screen. The other super chats, I will. At some point, the I Do Declare comments, I'm going to have to go through them, wait a while, and go through all of them. But as we first start in this, I want to get them out as you put them out there. Just to let you know the differences between the super chats. All right. So, I want to go through this real quick here. I agree with this article. I agree with this article. Tom Fornelli. The Big Ten bold predictions for 2026. Michigan's offense explodes. Indiana tumbles. USC produces the Heisman winner. This is Tom Fornelli, CBS Sports, his bold predictions for the Big Ten season. Illinois transfer quarterback Katin Hauser will break a school record. Hauser returned to the Big Ten, didn't make a lot of headlines, but after throwing for 37 touchdowns with East Carolina the last 2 seasons, Hauser replaces Luke Altmaier and does something neither Altmaier nor any other Illinois quarterback has ever done. He throws at least 24 touchdowns. In fact, I'll say he cruises past the school record and finishes with 28. My goodness, Tom Fornelli likes Katin Hauser and Kenneth Maynor, ECU Pirate. He likes Katin Hauser. Indiana Hoosiers lose 3 times and they miss the college football playoffs. Tom Fornelli bold prediction. Now, I do not agree with this one. I don't agree with this one. This is not a prediction based on not believing in Indiana or being daunted. It's based on the idea that Indiana loses a lot from last year, including the best quarterback in the country, and has a schedule that includes games against the Buckeyes, the Wolverines, the Trojans, in a tough road trip to Nebraska and Washington. If Indiana loses to Ohio State, Michigan, and USC, it'd be 9-3 without an obvious marquee win to hang its hat on. Ask Notre Dame and Texas how that works out. Tom Fornelli is saying Indiana is not going to make the playoffs. The Iowa Hawkeyes finished with a 750 yards receiver for a first time in 2018. Wow. Maryland Terps win a game in November. Maryland doesn't win games in November. But this time, Tom Fornelli is saying the Terrapins are going to get it done. The Terrapins' November slate is Purdue, Wisconsin, USC, and Penn State. Michigan. The Wolverines average more than 35 points per game. If Michigan averages 35 points a game, they're going to go to the playoffs. With a new staff in place, according to Tom Fornelli, Bryce Underwood taking a step forward. This unit gets back to lighten up the scoreboard and puts the team right back in the Big Ten in college football playoff contention. Tom Fornelli, CBS Sports. The Michigan State Spartans make a bowl game. Make a bowl game. Holy smokes. Pat Fitzgerald gets Sparty back to the postseason in his first year in charge. The Minnesota Golden Gophers. The Minnesota Golden Gophers. I suspect Minnesota's final record will look like a typical Minnesota record, 8-5, 7-5, 8-5, win the bowl game. But how they get there is going to be more interesting. The Gophers have road games at Washington, Indiana, and Penn State. They also welcome the Michigan Wolverines to Minneapolis. They will be underdogs in all 4 games, but they're going to win at least one of them. They're going to win at least one of them. Yes, yes. Tom Fornelli, genius. Genius at CBS Sports. I absolutely agree. Watch out, Huskies, Hoosiers, Nittany Lions, and the Wolverines. We're going to get at least one of you. We're going to get at least one of you. Nebraska Cornhuskers miss out on a bowl game. Oh, scathing. Yes, yes. The prediction is not based on Dylan Raiola leaving. I'm of the opinion that Anthony Colandrea might not be the NFL prospect Raiola is, but he's a better fit for what Dana Holgorsen likes to do. No, this is a prediction based on the fact that just because he's a fit doesn't mean Colandrea is a star. I agree with that. Nebraska's schedule is not easy. I agree with that. They will be on the road for Michigan State, Oregon, Illinois, Iowa. They could also be an underdog at home to Indiana and the Buckeyes. Nebraska's not going to make a bowl game. I agree with Tom Fornelli. And Tom Fornelli ends it like this. If this bold prediction comes true, odds are there will be a coaching search in Lincoln this winter. Northwestern, Aiden Childs will lose his starting job at some point. I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. His decision-making and accuracy are far too lacking. According to Tom Fornelli, I agree. The Buckeyes break the Big Ten title drought. The Buckeyes have not won the Big Ten since 2020. 2020. But they're going to win it this year. Ryan Day finally gets over the hump this year. The Ducks lead the league in rushing. Yeah, they've got Dante Moore. They got DeCorian Moore. They got Evan Stewart coming back. They've also added Gatlin Bear. But my goodness, Jordan Davis and De'Ara Hill will be a combination that's going to be unstoppable force. Combined with the elite Oregon defense, makes this team one of the toughest to beat in the country. Absolutely true. I agree with Tom Fornelli. Penn State. Nittany Lions won't beat a team with a winning record. Woo! Don't worry, Penn State fans. You might still finish 9-3 even if this does come true. Have you seen Penn State's schedule this year? Their road games against Michigan and Wisconsin, as well as home games against USC. Outside of that, there's nothing that should scare anybody. However, the beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers might be the most difficult game left. Also, I think Minnesota will get to a bowl, and earlier I said that Minnesota will pull off an upset this season. Whistles to sell. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Fornelli is predicting the Gophers to beat Penn State at Penn State. Yes, 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 yes. The Purdue Boilermakers win a conference game. Holy smokes. The Boilermakers are 0-18 in Big Ten play the last 2 seasons. Rutgers, the Schiano era comes to an end. It comes to an end. They play Indiana, USC, Michigan, Penn State. The sports books have their win total at 4.5. Greg Schiano. So here West leads the Big Ten in tackles for losses. The man came from James Madison, and he was a destroyer last year. 7.5 sacks, 14 tackles for losses, and now as a freshman. And now he comes play for the UCLA Bruins. That is a sneaky good prediction from Tom Fornelli. Look at this one. Jaden Mayava wins the Heisman Trophy. That's right. I'm predicting that Lincoln Riley, quarterback, and a USC quarterback will win the Heisman Trophy. Those things never happen. I'm not predicting that. I don't think Mayava is going to be, but I think USC is going to make the playoffs. I think Mayava is going to have a great season. The Washington Huskies will be ranked in the top 10 at some point. I don't know. Tom Fornelli says the Huskies look to be looking to get a hot start. I don't know about that. I do not know about that. Now, again, Tom Fornelli's article did not include Wisconsin. Maybe a later edition of the article included the Wisconsin Badgers. But the early article had 17 Big Ten teams, and it left out the Wisconsin Badgers. Now, that's not why I love the article. I love talking about the Badgers, the evil Badgers. I don't want to, I don't want to dismiss them, but they were not part of the early article. If Tom Fornelli puts on an update and includes the Badgers, we'll talk about that tomorrow on a live show Saturday. All right? All right. Now, we're going to go, before we talk about the Florida State Money Perch and the update given to us by the Florida State Money Perch. The Baylor Bears, again, college football peek around the corner spotlight series. Every live show, we're going to do a spotlight on a team early here in April, into May, into June. We're going to cover all the Power 4 programs and some of the G6 programs. We did this last year in the off season. People enjoyed it. We're going to be doing it this year. Again, we love talking football, what's going on in the football field, what's going off the football field. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And tonight, we're going to be doing the Baylor Bears. This is our 5th one already. We've already did the Miami Hurricanes, the USC Trojans, the Kentucky Wildcats, the Boston College Eagles, and tonight is the Baylor Bears. Now, Now, obviously we do not go through every part of these teams, but there's always one guy that I want to bring up that people are not talking about. All right? That's what we're going to do this year. As somebody that has very interesting player going into the season that many people are not talking about or they do not know about. But we lead off with the Baylor Bears' new quarterback, DJ Lagway, transfer from the Florida Gators. 2025 stats, 2,200 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. 63% completion percentage, a pretty low 127 quarterback rating, doesn't run all that good, 136 yards rushing, 1.9 average. You know how I feel about DJ Lagway. I don't know. I'm hoping that DJ Lagway was injured last year. Not just hurt, but injured, because he looked like he was injured. It looked like he had shoulder problems. It looked like he could not move. Every time he ran out of the pocket, he'd run into a defender. He couldn't make anybody miss. He couldn't throw the ball with any authority. I did not look. Now he's going to the Baylor Bears. His father played for the Baylor Bears, Derek Lagway. I hope DJ Lagway can prove me wrong this year. Prove it to me. Go out there and play some football. I have my doubts. I do not have doubts about this guy. Dawson Pendergrass. Now, if you remember, and I know the Baylor Bear fans remember this, I was heartbroken when this report came out. Right before the season started, Dawson Pendergrass, Dave Aranda announced that Pendergrass was out for the season with a foot injury. Remember here at PATC, we love that quarterback and we love that combination, Bryson Washington and Dawson Pendergrass, and bam, even before the first game, they lost Dawson Pendergrass. Well, he came back this year. He is the leader of that backfield. He ran for 671 yards last year, 5.5 rushing average rush, 6 rushing TDs. He's going to be the leader. He's going to be the leader in the locker room. Dawson Pendergrass coming back after foot injury. It's nice to see him back. Now, this is a sneaky portal pickup. Oklahoma State Cowboys, who are in the chat room, you remember Gavin Freeman. Slot receiver. Pretty small dude. 481 yards receiving, 53 receptions, an average of only 9.1 average yards per reception. He's a slot guy. He's not a burner. He's not going to go out and catch a 50-yard bomb. He's going to be a guy who's going to try to get you first downs, 3rd and 7. Gavin Freeman. And again, Oklahoma State Cowboys offense last year was not all that good. It struggled. This was one of the shiny parts of Oklahoma State last year. Gavin Freeman. He went to the portal, and the Baylor Bears picked him up, and he's going to help. He should help DJ Lagway out a lot. Very sneaky pickup by the Baylor Bears. Now this one, the next pickup was a little bit more of a stretch, but we'll see what happens here. Tight end Tony Livingston for the Florida Gators that are in the house tonight. You know, he's that tight end. He caught 11 receptions last year. The year before, he caught 11 receptions. Hasn't broken out. Has not broken out in 3 years at Gainesville. Now he's going to get his opportunity with DJ Lagway coming from Florida. Livingston and DJ Lagway know each other. We'll see if this works. And now here is the guy that Jalen Battle, true freshman from Edmond, Oklahoma. National 160 top player recruit. National defensive lineman. He was number 22 in the recruiting class. In the state of Oklahoma overall, he was the number 2 recruit in the state. And he goes to the Baylor Bears. They believe that he can play the 3 technique, the 5 technique, the 7 technique, the 9 technique. In other words, I don't think they really know where they're going to put him. But the word out of Waco is he's very versatile. He's going to be very versatile. Jalen Battle, somebody we're going to have to keep an eye on. It's tough to have a big impact as a true freshman, but this was one of the Baylor Bears' big-time high school recruits for the recruiting class of 2026. You're looking at the Baylor football schedule. Again, they open up this season against Auburn. Now, last year, they could not stop Auburn's quarterback run. This year, we'll see what happens. The game is against Auburn to begin the season. Colorado, September 26th. First Big 12 game. Arizona State as Arizona State on October 3rd. TCU, Baylor TCU, October 17th. Then Kansas, October 24th. Then UCF, October 31st. Iowa State, November 7th. BYU on the 14th. Texas Tech on the 21st. And the season at Houston on November 28th. And in our PATC, way too early Big 12 predictions, we got the Baylor Bears sitting at number 9. Not quite in the top half of the conference. Somewhere in the middle. And again, we got the Red Raiders, BYU, Utah, Houston, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona State, TCU, and then we got the Baylor Bears at number 9. So that is our spotlight. Again, the headliner for the Baylor Bears is DJ Legway. Can he fulfill the promise that he was as this big-time high school recruit? He did not get it done at Florida. We know he was injured. We know he was hurt at times, injured at times. And now is he fully healthy? We're gonna look. Baylor Auburn once again. Baylor Auburn once again. Last year did not go Baylor's way. If Baylor can get a victory, season opener against an SEC opponent, first year head coach at Auburn, Goldish, the Baylor Bears might be set up for a pretty good season. And Dave Aranda, if this DJ Legway situation does not work, Dave Aranda is going to be finding himself on the hot seat early in the season. That's what I believe. Let me know what you believe in the comment section below the video. Now, Gavin was a speedster, but he averaged 9 yards a reception. Okay. Now, Jimmy Austin, we've got a super chat. My goodness. My goodness. Jimmy Austin is on the board. I do declare that the SEC will have the worst record of the Power 4 teams in this year's college football playoff, and we'll go by winning percentage, right? Obviously. Now, again, I'm going to have to give that a declaration of 4 or 5. It's not likely to happen that way. So Jimmy Austin gambling a lot on that one. I do declare SEC, we're going to have that on the board, Jimmy Austin. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it for your declaration. And again, we're going to add all those to this. Yesterday's I do declare. OPD Don, Ryan Willie, Illini Ted, and all the ones that have been declared today. We're going to put them on the board. You're going to see them tomorrow. And we're going to add on to it during the off season. And then at some point, it's all going to get shut down. And then we're going to go in the season, and we're going to see who was right, who was wrong, give points, take away points, and to see who is the I do declare world champion of college football. Okay. Florida State Money Perch. Now, a lot of you have been asking for about the last 6 months, Florida State Money Perch, when are you going to talk to them? When are you going to communicate to them again? And I never communicate to them directly. That's done by B. Tim and his associates. Early in the program, we went through all the things that Florida State Money Perch has said, and he's been dead nuts accurate on everything thus far. What he told BTM, one of his associates, that there's optimism for the first time. Now, you can disagree. You can do whatever you want with this information. But for the first time, the Florida State Money Perch is saying there is optimism in Tallahassee. There is optimism in Tallahassee. First of all, I want to talk to you what Florida State told us again, and we have said this before because the Money Perches have chatted behind the curtain. People know of this. But this synergy between the University of Miami and Florida State is happening now. I'm not going to call it a hot bubble of action. I'm not going to go there quite yet. But there is something happening. Florida State loves the fact that Miami is a serious target for the Big Ten. They are. They are. Now, even Miami, as serious a candidate as they are, I can't really list them as the top 2 or 3 candidates for the Big Ten. I can't. But I believe I predicted it. Now to report, I have predicted that Miami is going to end up in the Big Ten. BTM 2 years ago predicted Miami in the Big Ten in 2029. Now, there's a lot of things going for Miami. A lot. There's definite interest from a research standpoint, from a geographic standpoint, from a media company standpoint, from a presidential standpoint, from an athletic association standpoint, from an international market standpoint. But because Miami is such a serious candidate for the Big Ten, the Florida State Money Perch told our associates that the bar for us to jump in Florida State to get a Big Ten invite has been lowered. And we're going up, and the bar is going down. They don't have to jump as high. The Southeastern Conference, they got to know, and they know, that Miami is a serious candidate for a Big Ten invite. And we're going to go back to that question again. The Florida State Money Perch told us that people in Tallahassee, they are openly saying, nah, there is no way on God's green earth that the Southeastern Conference is going to enable the Big Ten to grab both Miami and Florida State. God, that would be an That would be a nightmare for the Southeastern Conference. An absolute nightmare. You cannot allow that to happen. You cannot allow the state of Florida to have two of the top three brands go to the Big Ten. And that's never been a threat before to the Southeastern Conference. It's never been a threat before. As great as Miami is, as great as Florida State is, great blend, they've never been in the crosshairs of the Big Ten. They haven't. They haven't. But then the Big Ten went national. They went out west. And it worked. And I'm not even talking about the championships and the Big Ten winning this and that, whatever. All that's fine. All that is good. I'm talking about money. I'm talking about value. I'm talking about research. The travel kind of difficult. But everything else has been a huge plus. Huge. It worked. And if the Big Ten, it's not if, when the Big Ten goes in the southeastern part of this country, they're going to gather up even more low-hanging fruit. They're going to gather up even more value. They are. They're going to become a richer conference. This whole thing about the Big Ten can't expand because whoever they bring in ain't going to bring more value than their slice of pie and blah, blah. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Here's another thing that has worked for the Big Ten. This is something that the Florida State Money Perch is telling us, that the people that he talks with, and he talks with very important people in the state of Florida, as far as I'm going to go with that, the Big Ten is big on bringing in a rivalry. That's added cream, that's added money, and it's a yearly annual ad. That rivalry ain't going to go away. The Oregon-Washington, that rivalry, that's going to be 50 years from now. Oregon-Washington. People are going to want to watch that game, especially out west. But in the Midwest, and now eventually people in the Southeast, because they're going to be part of the Big Ten, are going to watch that Oregon. That's an added value. The Big Ten and Fox wanting the entire city of Los Angeles to be a Big Ten country, UCLA and USC. Yeah, they got a rivalry, but it's that city thing. Get both of them in that huge market. Again, people at Florida State does not believe that there's any way that the SEC and ESPN is going to allow the Big Ten to come on in and grab that rivalry that's going to be a rivalry for the next 50 years, 100 years. That ain't going away. And that's added value to both Miami and Florida State. It's added value to both. If they're together, they are both more valuable. And plus the Big Ten coming in and taking that large swath of western northern, and then the southern tip of the state of Florida. The Florida State people have now become convinced that Miami is such a serious candidate for the Big Ten that the Southeastern Conference is going to have to step in. They're going to have to step in. In fact, somebody that, and I can say this, but I can't say that. This is what I can say. The Florida State Money Perch has talked to somebody in and around Gainesville, and they believe that the University of Florida knows that they're going to have to take in Florida State. Now, they've never publicly been, at least lately, they've never been really against it. Strickland, the athletic director, longtime athletic director, has publicly said, yeah, we're not, that's a possibility. Whatever best for us, whatever. But they don't want second and third or whatever, however you want to rank these brands. They don't want two of the top three to be Big Ten. They do not want that to happen. If the Big Ten has to put their stake in the ground, have it all the way to be South Florida, don't have it be all the way to the capital of Tallahassee. So even the money perch is even hearing from a very special person in and around Gainesville. That's all I can say about that. That even the University of Florida has recognized you can't let the Big Ten in like that. You see, what the Florida State Money Perch has learned is that the Big Ten, because their last movement, their last expansion has worked so well. And again, I'm not talking about all the national championships. I'm talking about the monetary of it all. The national it's worked. You're going to get evidence of that. You're going to get evidence of that. It has worked. Because of this expansion has worked, going to even a more national, the Big Ten has become more powerful and more interesting to other money that's on the table. It has become even more interesting to big streaming giants. The Southeastern Conference cannot allow the Big Ten to grab Florida State and Miami together. It's a nuclear bomb that would go off. The SEC, they'll give up a Georgia Tech. Fine. The SEC, they're going to give up something in the mid-Atlantic, North Carolina, Virginia, those states to the Big Ten. Okay, fine. But even the people of Tallahassee, talking with people like Gainesville, are becoming more optimistic that the SEC is looking at Florida State just a little bit differently than they did 18 months ago. They are. Because, number one, Florida State has risen in the eyes of just about everybody. And number two, the bar is being lowered at the same time Florida State's going up. Big Ten is more powerful now than they were a couple of years ago. They just are. And SEC cannot allow it. Florida State, the Florida State Seminoles, the Money Perch, not just this Money Perch. He's the one that we're talking to, but not just this Money Perch. They're getting more and more optimistic. And then when he talked about, he didn't use the word silo. He didn't use those phrases. When he talked about the breakaway from the Southeastern Conference, the Southeastern Conference is going to need support. Political support. And they're most likely going to expand. They are going to expand. And Gainesville, Florida is not going to be enough to gain the support of the people, of the politicians in the state of Florida. If you get Tallahassee, now you're cooking. Now you're cooking with gas. That's another reason why the Florida State Seminole fan, the Money Perch, and possibly an administrator or two is getting more and more optimistic. Now I know what a lot of people are thinking. Greg, you're just throwing out this because you want to make people happy. That's not what I do here at College Football Peek Around the Corner. We are the most unpopular national college football YouTube channel in the country for a reason. I'm going to give the bad news just as much as I'm going to give the good news. And I've been giving the Florida State Seminole fan base bad news for a very long time. I've been upfront. I have been honest. We have been accurate. And I think we're being very accurate tonight. I think for the first time, this Florida State Money Perch is speaking for a lot of people. Not the fan base. I don't know where the fan base's head's at, but but I'm talking about people that give a lot of money to the university, like, people that talk with people. And for the very first time, they are feeling optimistic. Now, we have received, not in the last 6 months, but we have received, I would guess, 7 to 8 emails from the Florida State Money Perch. I have read to you a couple of them. The last one was so negative, so depressing, but I read it because it was honest, and man, did I get hit, but it was honest. This is the first email from the Florida State Money Perch. In fact, we had to make sure it was even him, but we got it confirmed it was him. This is the first email that had, they believe that they believe they are in a very good spot. Where they end up, I don't know. I predicted the SEC. I still predict an SEC for the reasons that the Florida State Money Perch just expressed. But they could end up in the Big Ten. And again, I've always said that door is not shut, but it was never. Look, Florida State and Clemson, as we have told you in real time when it was happening, Florida State and Clemson went to the courts not because they knew what was going to happen to them, not because they had a deal signed, sealed, and delivered. They went to the courts so they could find out what would happen to them. And when they won that court case, they found out. Now, they had a good idea anyways. I mean, when we announced on June 15th, 2024 in a live show that Florida State and Clemson were not the number one targets, they're not the number one or number two targets of the Big Ten and the SEC, it wasn't just us that knew that. It was the national reporters that knew that. It was Florida State that knew that. It was Clemson that knew that. But now they've been able to talk. They've been positioned. Possibly some NDAs have been signed. Possibly. Allegedly. Lawyers out there that are watching this program, allegedly, possibly have been signed. Now they've been able to talk. Third-party talks. First-party talks. Group talks. And so tonight, Florida State, I think, is in a better position, most definitely are in a better position than they were 18 months ago. They have risen. What they've done with the hospital, the Tallahassee Hospital, what they've done in research, what they've done to their facilities, all the money that they have put in. And again, I'm sorry. Florida State going 2-10. Florida State going, 5-7 last year, 4-8. And as we reported to you in real time, that had zero effect on realignment. Zero. That had no effect on Florida State's brand. And look, Florida State Seminole fans are upset. They're losing. Mike Novell might not be able to make it. But that is not having any effect on the brand. It doesn't. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. If Florida State is included in the Southeastern Conference, the crazy fan base is going to buy a bunch of tickets. They're going to travel. They're going to increase the value, the sponsorship, the signage in the stadium, the TV viewership, the value of Florida State and all those other sports, and the value of not having them go to the Big Ten, the value of the Florida State-Florida game. So, now Florida State, again, they have their detractors. We know one of them, and that's the University of Georgia's president. I do wonder, though, again, Florida State Money Perch talked about SEC breakaway. He did not use the term silo. If the SEC broke away, they believe the SEC will expand, and they've got to be able to protect their investment. They got to be able to protect ESPN. If they're going to go their own way, either a little bit conservative or eventually go the whole extreme, they're going to have to protect their investment. They're going to have to protect their media partner. And getting to Clemson, getting to Florida State, and expanding with the North Carolina plus another one, that seems to be the sweet spot for the Southeastern Conference. I still think that's what's going to happen. A prediction, not a report. But Florida State is moving up. They're in the sweet spot. Miami and Florida State sees Miami as an ally in this. They have no qualms. They have no problems with Miami being a big target for the Big Ten, because that puts even more pressure on the Southeastern Conference. I am going to have a little bit more of this report sometime next week. There were parts of this email that I'm going to try to clear. I'm going to try to clear it, and I want to read it to you verbatim. Or if I have to skip a few words here and there, I want to do that. Now, I have been allowed to do this before, so I've already requested it. Again, I do not communicate to them this particular money perch directly, but I'm hoping to get something to where I can explain something that I cannot explain tonight. So, if I'm allowed to read one portion of this communication later on next week, I'm going to do that. I'm going to give you a heads up before I do it. So I'm not going to just pop up here and read a portion of this email. I'm going to give you a day's advance. I'm going to tell you, because there's a certain part of this email that explains one part of the optimism that I have not been able to express tonight, because there might be a name or two involved in this. And if I can figure out a way to explain it to you without giving up, not just the name, of course, but the position of the name, somehow, some way, I think we can make it work. So, again, we're not done with this. Hopefully later on next week, I'll be able to read the portion of the email that I desperately want to read to you. All right? So that is it. That's our update for now. Again, I get it. Greg is just, this is the first time we've ever put out any optimism from the Florida State Money Perch. It caught us a little bit off guard. Maybe it's going to be catching you guys a little bit off guard. Again, we're going to open up the phone lines here. We're going to open up the phone lines. Let's open up the phone lines. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Phone lines are wide open.
Call from
Rick.
Rick is on the line. The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, Rick.
Well, thank you. Ready for a good week. Oh, you got a show tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do a show tomorrow. Buckeyes spring game. I believe I'm going to do that. I think I have an opportunity to do that. Yes.
Great. Well, it's been a while since the FSU money percher.
Long time. He was depressed the last couple of times, as you know, Rick. But it's different now. It's different.
I'm glad he's no longer depressed.
Yeah.
It makes it better for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, the way I'm understanding it is that really all that the Seminoles are doing is using Miami. They're really not partners with Miami. They're using Miami for leverage with the Big Ten, but their heart's in the deep south.
There is one part of this where I think the how do I say this? Okay, I can say this. Rick, thank you for bringing. Remember when the state of Florida did something politically, internally, that the state of Florida is now going to support University of South Florida, University of Central Florida, Florida State, University of Florida, with genome research, that they were going to facilitate more public money and whatever. If people go back and Google that, story, that is playing a part in this as well, because Florida State public school, Miami private school, Miami's very much in genome and genetics and all that, very much into it. They can and they will partner in some of this stuff, and that also helps propel Florida State rising above that bar that's being lowered for Big Ten interest and Southeastern Conference interest. But I just want to, so there is a little bit of a research partnering that I am being told as well. But go ahead.
Well, I'm not surprised by that. I vaguely remember it.
Yeah.
But I just see that as another tool by the Seminoles to leverage, to use it to leverage the SEC to say, hey, we've got this great offer. We've got this really, really great offer from the Big Ten to partner with Miami.
Yeah.
Don't sit around too long waiting. Don't wait too long.
Yeah.
You know what happens if you wait too long? Sometimes the item gets sold.
Yeah.
So that's some pretty good leverage, and I can see why the FSU money perch might be in a good mood.
Yes. For the first time. Well, I shouldn't say the first time. When he told us on December 26, 2022, that Florida State was going to say something in public in 2 months, and we did a live show on that, and then it happened on February 24th. He was in a good mood then. But after that, he found out some stuff that Florida State was on, he found out the same way I think we found out. Everybody knew it. Florida State was not on the top of the SEC Big Ten's list. And they're still not, but they're in a way better position now than they were before. Way better position. So.
Well, exactly.
And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, if this is the first time or the last time you're ever going to listen to me, this is why it was so imperative for me. I wasn't trying to be mean to Florida State fans, but somebody had to be honest with you, because people were pushing this idea that Florida State was the 19th school of the Big Ten. The deal was already done, and it was so full of bleep that in the fan base was completely trolled, and it was not true. It just wasn't true, and I knew it wasn't true. And that's why I had to go on the offensive for a while, but I'm not going to do that again. But it's just so everybody understands why I did what I did. I had no hatred in my heart for Florida State or Clemson or anybody else except for the Badgers. But somebody had to say it. I said it. But now there is optimism, and I believe that is as accurate as the pessimism was before. Go ahead, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
No. Never an interruption. So now we move on to the Big Ten.
Yes, sir.
And the only way that the Big Ten is going to get Florida State is if they do it first.
Yeah.
Correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. Yeah.
You have to be first. You have to come right out and make the offer with Miami, and then they have to obviously pick up their phone and call the SEC and tell them, and then that's the way it works. So when is the Big Ten going to make the offer?
Well, that goes back to the old realignment rules, right? They don't move until they know where the biggest dominoes are going to fall first. I know that frustrates everybody, but that seems to be something that is, I don't know. Maybe something. Maybe I don't know, man. You make logical sense, Rick. That's the problem with your phone calls. You make logical sense.
If you do that, you're not in control. You're surrendering control.
Yeah.
So is that what they want to do? They want to surrender control to the SEC?
Well, I think the Big Ten has put a lot of time, a lot of emphasis on a certain particular items happening, and they don't want to do anything that would ruin their chances of that particular thing happening, i.e. Notre Dame. So, you know.
Well, Notre Dame, that whole scenario that's over. I'm not even losing sleep over Notre Dame.
Yeah.
That's how big of a lock Notre Dame is. I'm totally dismissing Notre Dame. They're going to the Big Ten, and that's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put them right off to the side. It's over. It's not even up for discussion.
Yeah.
Whether or not they bring somebody along with them is up for discussion, but only provided they do it early enough. Because if they wait around too long, if the Irish wait around too long,
yeah,
they're not going to bring anyone with them.
Yeah, I can understand that.
They're just going to be there knocking on the door saying, okay, we're coming.
Yeah.
All of this falls into a power play of who's going to jump first.
Or who can jump first.
Well, we know Notre Dame can jump.
Yeah, but they've got their own internal stuff going on as well.
But they can.
Yes.
We know the ACC teams can jump.
Yep. Well, yes, they can. But they've got their own internal issues. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Legally, they can jump.
They're in that boiling pot. They're in that pot of water, and the temperature's rising.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to jump, and you can't jump unless you have an offer. And we only know of one team that has an offer.
Yes. Yep.
Thanks for taking the call.
You got it, buddy. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Yeah. So, just a
Call from
Tristan 5.
Tristan 5, can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Yes, I can.
I appreciate it. As a reminder, tomorrow I am going to be looking. I can't promise you a rose garden, but I'm going to be trying to do a live show, talk about college football, open up the phone lines, noon Eastern time, and we're going to be keeping an eye on the Ohio State Buckeye spring football game. I'm going to try to open up the phone lines noon Eastern time, noon tomorrow, to open up the phone lines, because I'm not going to be able to get to everyone's calls tonight on this. People can call in tomorrow and talk about whatever they want to talk about in college football. But just so everybody knows, I'm targeting tomorrow at noon Eastern, Buckeye spring football game, watch party. Go ahead, sir. The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, Tristan. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Greg. I have what I think is probably a simple trivia question that I'll throw out to you. From 1932 to 1964, what did Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Tennessee all have in common?
What was the years on that?
From 1932 to 1964.
32 to 64. And name the schools again?
Well, the states.
Oh.
Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Tennessee.
They all voted for George Wallace. No idea.
It's actually kind of a realignment trivia question, Greg. During that time period, all 5 of those states had 2 schools in the SEC. My point in bringing this up is that it's always been part of the model of the SEC to have 2 schools in states, and people might look at it today and go, well, it's not really true anymore. But I would point out to you that they now have 2 schools in Texas. And this news about Florida State, Greg, it's very interesting, and I agree with the point that you're making, that it seems as though the SEC would have to respond, right? But when you frame it that way, it makes it sound like they're reluctant. And that's just not the case. It might be true that North Carolina is their top target, okay? But, the SEC wanted Florida State back in 1991 when they joined the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
And, people may not know that, but that's true. And then Clemson and Florida State were set to join the SEC back around 2010, 2011, and then Notre Dame tanked that deal by saying, well, we'll be a partial in the ACC, but only if those 2 schools stay. So, ESPN put the kibosh on that. That the SEC's been wanting to get Florida State for a couple of decades, Greg. So I understand that people are going to say, well, that's not really true. They don't like Florida State and all this stuff. No, but it is true. Think like a president. Don't think like an AD.
Mm-hmm.
Why in the world would the SEC want to sit on its hands and allow the Big Ten to come in and take 2 schools from the state of Florida? They wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think, and I think the big message tonight is, I think, according to the money Perch guy that we have communicated since December 26, 2022, it sounds like the people of Tallahassee have convinced themselves that the SEC will not allow this to happen. So yeah,
and that's interesting. And Greg, let me tell you something else. Now, when I say this, think of it, we're talking about the modern SEC, okay? In the SEC's modern history, there's never been 3 schools from the same state. And they are not going to bequeath that honor upon the state of North Carolina. The first states to get 3 schools, if it ever happens, I predict will be either Texas or Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're too big. I mean, they're so big that they could support a 3rd school, and it would help to further fortify their so-called control on the region. It won't be North Carolina, Duke, and NC State, right? I think the SEC is going to tell ESPN, you got to pick 2 of the 3 because you can't get all 3. And, who knows? And the deal might actually be if they take North Carolina that they have to take NC State. I kind of would expect that, to be honest with you. This is real interesting news. They're optimistic, but people need to understand that the SEC has had interest in Florida State for some time. Even if they're not what you would call the top target, they've wanted them.
Mm-hmm.
And so this, hopefully for Florida State, they can get into the P2. I'm cheering for them. I would love to see them get in. They're deserving, in my opinion. And their fans are just so fed up with the ACC.
Yeah.
So anyway, Greg, that's all I wanted to point out was that it's part of the SEC's model to have 2 schools in each state. It's been that way for a long time. And Tulane and Georgia Tech would still be there, except that they left, right? So
Yep.
that's how they do things. And so I think taking Florida State's a no-brainer. So, hey, listen, you keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you later.
You got it. I appreciate it, sir.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Fantastic call by Mr. Tristan.
Call from
Movie Time Blues.
Movie Time Blues. Can you just hold on for one moment, please?
Yes.
I appreciate it. We've got ourselves a very kind, massive super chat. Amazing Blue. Explain to me, Greg, if the Big Ten is making realignment moves that affect the next 100 years and clearly see all the moves Florida State is doing to show their interest in gaining Miami with Florida State would make a major impact, why not do it? Okay. Maybe they will do it, but here's the thing. And this is where once again, unfortunately, college football's peak around the corner solidifies itself as the most unpopular national independent college football YouTube channel in the country. Because I'm going to give you the truth, Amazing Blue, and people are going to get upset with it, and then they're going to get upset with me, and that's just how it goes. The Big Ten's number one target is Notre Dame. And they feel they got a pretty good shot at Notre Dame. Eventually, they think Notre Dame's going to have to join a conference for reasons we've talked about. Notre Dame and the Big Ten have talked with each other on and off for years. And they're going to continue to talk with each other. Notre Dame knows what the offer is of the Big Ten. Notre Dame, keeping their football independence is a great value for Notre Dame. You're going to have to match that value and go above that value for Notre Dame to join the Big Ten. But that's the Big Ten's number one target. Now, that did not stop the Big Ten from getting USC, UCLA. That did not stop the Big Ten from getting Rutgers and Maryland. That did not stop Notre Dame from getting Oregon and Washington. The Big Ten still moved without getting Notre Dame. They still expanded the conference, and it seemed to have worked. But in those expansions, the Big Ten adding a second region to the conference when they've added Rutgers and Maryland, that was kind of in the wheelhouse of Notre Dame. Notre Dame kind of likes that. Adding USC and UCLA, going to California again, that's in the wheelhouse of Notre Dame. That's not something that Notre Dame would balk against. Adding Oregon and Washington. But adding Florida State, again, the Big Ten knows how Notre Dame thinks. Notre Dame knows how the Big Ten thinks. They know each other. And Sankey knows Notre Dame. The lines of communications are wide open. There is no cloak and dagger among those three entities. Notre Dame Notre Dame, again, this is where I get everybody upset with me. Notre Dame is not a particular supporter of Florida State. And you're not going to probably get Notre Dame closer to you by adding Florida State. Now, if the Big Ten is so definite, they believe so strongly that eventually Notre Dame has to leave their football independence because people are breaking away from the NCAA, we're going into conference governance, and Notre Dame's going to have to give up the independence. Then the Big Ten could possibly say it don't matter. We'll take Florida State, man. We'll take, and we don't care because Notre Dame's going to have to come to us. But as of now and in the past, the Big Ten doesn't want to do anything that would put another roadblock in the way of Notre Dame entering the exit ramp off of Highway Independence onto Big Ten Boulevard. They don't want to put anything in that exit ramp. And taking a Florida State is something that would clutter that exit ramp, so to speak. That's the best way I can answer that question in a short period of time that we've got for the night. That's one reason. But Amazing Blue, thank you for the $20 holler. Thank you so very much. I appreciate the generosity. Movie Time Blues, thank you so much for your patience. Very much appreciate it. You've got the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Now let's say the SEC decides they're going to protect the state of Florida. What do I do if I'm the Big Ten? I go after UNC and Duke. That's one rivalry. It's not a football rivalry.
Yep.
But it's still a huge rivalry.
Yep.
I said, if they want rivalries, let's get UNC and Duke. That's a counter-strike. And then, whatever the donors decide to do, they have UNC, Duke as potential peers. If they decide to have to go join a conference, that'll be a nice consolation prize if I cannot get Florida State.
But, But the thing is what if the Big Ten can't get North Carolina? You started out by saying, well, the Big Ten should strike North Carolina and Duke first. The SEC has been working on they both have been working on North Carolina, but the SEC, to give you my honest opinion based upon a lot of information, SEC's got the inside track to North Carolina. I think right now there's a successful block of North Carolina. Now the Board of Governors and politics and everything else could change all that. But right now, I think the SEC has that advantage. Newmark, the athletic director, people in the Board of Trustees, the Board of Governors. I think it leans SEC. So I don't know if the Big Ten can do that strike first in North Carolina and getting Duke. Go ahead, sir.
But the SEC may not want to add Duke along with UNC. They may prefer UNC alone or with the other public school. So there's a factor. And then you have the Notre Dame factor, which have a relationship with both UNC and Duke. So if the logic of Notre Dame is, well, what's the relationship between Notre Dame and UNC and Duke and Virginia? maybe that's the equalizer against the SEC option.
Again, I think the relationships are good between those four universities. As far as I know, there's a lot of history there among three of those four, and I think Notre Dame respects the heck out of those three universities. But again, I think the SEC has anticipated all of this, and I think they've thrown up a pretty good roadblock into Chapel Hill. Now, maybe they haven't. Maybe we're wrong. I don't think we are, but maybe that can be overcome by the Big Ten. But I think the Southeastern Conference has anticipated what Movie Time Blues was going to say here on April 17, 2026. And I think the Southeastern Conference has cut the Big Ten off at the path.
But the way I'm looking at this, what is the SEC really has to protect? Do they have to protect the state of Florida or the state of North Carolina? Can they really do both? That's where I differ from you.
Okay.
So, eventually, the Big Ten, they're going to get into the region one way or another.
Well, excuse me for interrupting, but I do think, now it's a prediction, not a report, because I don't think anything's imminent. I think we got a ways to go here. But I do think the Southeastern Conference can do both. I think they've definitely have worked actively in Chapel Hill. And I think, as Money Perch has said today, and I think what we've been saying for the last 6 months, I do think there's a way for the SEC to make sure that the Big Ten doesn't grab two schools out of Florida and grab Chapel Hill. I happen to think, as of today, that's how it's going to happen. That's how it's going to go. But I don't think it's impossible. I think the Southeastern Conference, I think they have the advantage in Chapel Hill, and I think, they're going to have to crack some heads in the presidential level, especially the University of Georgia president. And I think they may be able to get a Florida State and a North Carolina in the same rowboat to get to the Southeastern Conference shores. But I'll let you finish the call. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Well, sometimes, we fans have an idea how realignment should go, but
yeah,
when it comes to the actual decision making, it's all up to the academics and the presidents and the chancellors.
You are correct.
And what they believe may throw us in for a surprise.
Yeah.
Just give it that thought. So, all right, I'll talk to you later.
Hey, I appreciate it, Movie Time Blues. Thanks for the call. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it, sir.
Sure, no problem.
All right. Beautiful. Now, it is true that academia has the vote. The presidents have the vote. Except, we got that whole board of governors in the state of North Carolina. I mean, the chancellor of North Carolina, Lee Roberts, the board of regents at North Carolina, Chapel Hill, they could all be for North Carolina joining the SEC. Or they all could be for North Carolina joining the Big Ten. Or they all could be for North Carolina joining the a reimagined ACC. But again, they need the votes from the Board of Governors. According to the Board of Governors, according to the new how things are, the process is there. When it comes to conference affiliation, if North Carolina decides they want to leave the ACC, they have to go to the Board of Governors with a financial plan, an impact plan on their university. And then the Board of Governors are going to say, what is the impact on the other public universities that we are custodians of here, our Board of Governors in the state of North Carolina? What is the impact on North Carolina State? So for most of the schools, it is the president that has the vote. Even in those schools, there is a political tug and war internally in the state. Maryland, when they joined the Big Ten, the president at the time was for it. A lot of people were against it. But at that point, they had the power, the presidential power at Maryland could move their conference affiliation, and they did it. UCLA wanted to join the Big Ten, but they had to get over the board of hurdles, the board of regents hurdle that California and UCLA shared, and that was a big mess. Virginia and Virginia Tech had some political entangling. So even with schools that don't have to go to a board of governors, that have look over multiple public universities, even presidents have this political back and forth that they have to get through to change conference affiliation. Anyways, that's a long spiel going nowhere. Thank you so much for the super chat, Jan. Jan, I appreciate it. Hold on a second. My something isn't working here. Hold on. $5 super chat. $5 holler. Jan, Greg, if the SEC grabs Florida State and North Carolina, is there a point in the Big Ten grabbing Duke or Miami? Duke, Miami doesn't bring enough market share. That's a very good question. It's a very good question, and it's an interesting one. I happen to think it's not going to be Miami and Duke. I think Virginia would get ahead of Duke on that. And I don't know if that would, don't know if that would bring enough market share. I would think at that point, the Big Ten, if North Carolina leaves the ACC, I think the Big Ten, again, if they can't get North Carolina, if North Carolina is the first one to move, then I think there's going to be a very, very heavy 72-hour push on Notre Dame. If the ACC's losing North Carolina, those sponsor sports, your Olympic sports, it's going to dissolve in the ACC. You better get on moving, Notre Dame. I think that would be the Big Ten's action. Try to get Notre Dame to move at that point. But if Notre Dame doesn't move at that point, then the Big Ten's got to look at counteracting that with, Miami's got to be in the mix, of course. I think they would be. Duke would be in the mix. Virginia, of course. I think Virginia. Georgia Tech, and I believe some schools out west. But I believe at that point, Notre Dame's got to move if North Carolina moves first to the SEC. But that is a prediction, not a report. It's just a prediction. Nothing is done. Nothing is settled. Nothing is imminent. I don't believe anything is imminent quite yet. I do want to, once again, we went through the big, bold predictions of Tom Fornelli. Go check it out at CBS Sports. Go check it out early in the program. That was a fantastic article. We did the Baylor Bears Spotlight Series. Legway and Dawson Pendergrass coming back from a foot injury. Transfer wide receiver out of Oklahoma State, Gavin Freeman. The slot receiver, Tony Livingston, also coming from Florida. A tight end that quite hasn't. Well, we'll see what happens this year. And then Jalen Battle, the number one recruit for Baylor, one of the number one recruits for Baylor. We'll see what he does, and it's a true freshman out of Edmond, Oklahoma. We also gave you an update on the I Do Declare. Yesterday we had 3 I Do Declares. Tonight we had a whole lot of I Do Declares. We're going to add them up on the board. And again, if you don't know what this is about, go early in our program. We talk about it. I'll be talking about it pretty much every live show for the next 7 live shows until everybody understands what the I Do Declare contest is all about. And then we talked about the Florida State Money Perch. Finally, he's optimistic about what is going on in Tallahassee when it comes to the next wave of disruption. We'll be talking about this more tomorrow. Again, I know not everyone was able to get their phone calls through. We've been on the air for over 2 hours. We're going to be doing a watch party noon Eastern tomorrow. Buckeye Spring football game. Give us a call at that time. The phone lines are going to be wide open. We're going to be talking college football on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. And I appreciate you all joining us. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, please you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.